Welcome to this week's episode of Surgeon Interrupted. I am very excited to welcome my oldest and best friend here today, Executive Pastry Chef Becky Freeman.
Thank you so much for having me. It's
I, ha-
honestly such a pleasure.
I have to tell you all about her. Becky will not brag about herself, and so obviously, since we literally go back to the early 90s, I can do so for you. Rebecca Freeman is the executive pastry chef at Coyote Café and Santacafé in Santa Fe. Previously, she was executive pastry chef at the club at Las Campañas in Santa Fe. She brings over a decade of experience in pastry creation. And most recently, she was awarded Best Chef in Santa Fe through Edible New Mexico magazine. In 2023, she was awarded the coveted National Pastry Chef of the Year award by the American Culinary Federation. 40 Under 40 Class of 2024 by Club and Resort Chef Magazine, and 40 Under 40 through the Santa Fe Chamber of Commerce. You can find her works in the Pastry Arts Magazine, New Mexico Magazine, Table New Mexico Magazine, and Edible New Mexico Magazine.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You have been cooking, quite
Yeah.
literally, but also figuratively.
I wish I can say I can do anything else well. I can't. It's just like I'm definitely a one-trick pony. It's like pastries and nothing else.
Yeah, as far back as I can remember, because I do have a couple memories from the early 90s,
The
you have been,
1900s, late
yeah,
1900s.
exactly. Kids, cover your ears because we are pulling from 1900s lore, which is that for as long as I can remember, you have been interested in and skilled at pastry work.
Yeah, I even have this the childhood drawing that I did, I don't know, when I was 5 or so. It was like, stick figure, and it had the toque on top, and it just said, what I want to be when I grow up is a chef, except I couldn't spell, so I think I've spelled it like thef. I want to be a thief. But
I love it so much, and I
yeah.
really do think, yeah, now we're in our 30s, like all this time later, we're adults, we're professionals, but our journeys really diverged in the sense that you were right. The thing that you loved and thought that you wanted to do for your whole life when you were 5 years old, like you are one of those people who absolutely nailed it on the head, whereas I definitely did not want to be a doctor when I was 5. I got it wrong.
Well, pulling from my memories too, I know you were always into design and graphic design and everything like that. And I think, y- as far as I can remember, you were always like organizing and color charting, and like that was your favorite part. And I feel like you're able to do that now at, 34, and you had that interest back then. So maybe you are being true to yourself, from childhood dreams all the way back then, and you just kind of took a little bit of a detour, right?
A small 13-year detour into the bowels of the hospital and out. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
no, you're right. I remember I was always sketching. Like now I get to make a lot of slide decks. I make a lot of social media assets. I made a calendar the other day that was so intricate that it made a PR firm gasp. And I was like, what? They were like, what did you make this on? How did you generate this? That is me living my best life.
Yeah, I'm glad you could find that now for yourself and honoring your childhood dreams, maybe, or your childhood interests. So maybe we're both doing that, maybe, question mark.
We are both doing it. And I want to shout out, like, we are both doing it, but here's what I think is really interesting to dig into because pretty much every high achieving female professional that I know has an extraordinarily high bar for excellence and maybe isn't very skilled at like giving herself flowers. And I think that that applies to everybody in this room today, right? It's funny because even though we are in our 30s, I also think to an extent, like we're still really hard on ourselves as if we're 15. And like, man, am I ever going to make it? Am I ever going to make something of myself? I just read you're on so many 40 under 40 lists, by the way. Like, I think that 13, 15, 18-year-old you, their mind would explode if they knew what you had achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't even dream this future for myself. Honestly, when I was 18 and going into the culinary school, my vision was so small, like really, like I wanted to be a pastry chef and that was like the end of the list. And now I'm running two monster restaurants. I have a whole entire team under me. Outside of work, I'm doing trying to get on, like, TV shows and, writing articles and doing recipes and doing charity events and doing wine dinners, and it's just I could never even fathom that I'd be doing that right now. And I mean, the day-to-day is hard, like, I put in 14-hour days, like, I don't wanna discount that at all, but I'm I'm farther than I could ever possibly dream of at this point in my life.
Yes, which is amazing. I do think, when we came up in our 20s, we both had the crummy hours. I was in medical school and residency. You were
Yeah.
climbing up the ladder in the kitchen environment. I guess my question is, it's really nice to hear you acknowledge it. I totally agree with you. Like, I think that younger Becky would have just fainted if she heard this bio today. But do you feel like we really do a good job of you wake up every day in awe of yourself and remembering who the F you are?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. God, I wish I could pretend that it's really glamorous, but the day to day is, I'm fighting with my Shamrock rep because he didn't send me the right cream cheese, and accidentally sent me a gallon of green tea ice cream that I'll never use, and I didn't order, and I can't send it back. And so I really get lost in kind of like the dirty work. And it's really hard to pull back and just realize that the job I'm complaining about right now is the job I also begged the universe for. I don't tell a lot of people this, but I actually had been finessing this job for years. I was working at the club at Las Campanas, a private country club, and from afar, I was looking at these 2 restaurants. They were owned by the same person,
Okay.
Santacafé, Coyote Café, and I was looking at their desserts, and I was just like, "Oh, man, those suck." Like, what if I could be the pastry chef at both? Like, I think I could do that. So I talked to one of the executive chefs, and I was really just trying to weasel my way. Oh god, that sounds awful, but it was just like I was really trying to finesse this job for years and just like trying to convince everybody I can do it. It's like, at Las Campanas, I have like multiple outlets and I manage multiple restaurants. It'd be really easy for me to do multiple restaurants, for you. Like I can do that. No, I don't wake up in awe every single day. I really do need to remind myself that I begged the universe for this job. I mean, like I said, it's not easy. I do have 14-hour days, but yeah, this is the dream.
I'm so happy for you. I think that I can relate to everything that you're saying because I frankly now have my dream job and I don't and I'm prone to bouts of orneriness. Like, I do think that it is hard to cultivate and grow a practice of gratitude, but like I am trying really, really hard. And what's interesting about it is that I find that it is actually, again, in these like highly competent, competitive, perfectionist women where it's hard to do those things side by side because you're always thinking, what is going to be excellence in this area? Like, what does that look like? How do I achieve it? And then the second that it's been achieved, the second that there's like another award or another gorgeous magazine spread of like your innovative pastries, then it's kind of like I'm laying the
Yeah, like
groundwork for the next huge spread of my innovative pastries.
it's so true that it's almost painful. Just last month, I got a 5-page spread in a magazine, and it felt awesome. I got
Mhm.
congratulated, and then I just had this moment of just like, "Oh god, like, I'm not working on anything right now. Like, what else can I do? Like, wait, what next?" And so I did have a moment of panic instead of, like, a moment of celebration. It was just like, "Oh god, like, what else should I be working on right now?"
I know, but that's why it's so funny too that you're like asking yourself that because literally you're not eating bonbons at home. You're still working 14-hour days at your regular job, but it is like, how can I go above and beyond, and how can I be pounding the pavement almost? Like, I do think that we both have that quality. I don't know what was in the water in River Forest, or, why we're like this.
So we've been friends for 30 years at this point, so I just want to put this on you maybe a little bit. I feel like I am so driven because I'm friends with you and you are so driven. Like, I don't know if I would be like independently motivated, if that makes any sense. Like, growing up with you, maybe you don't realize, but you were always doing the next thing. I remember when I was, I think at 12 years old, we went and took the SATs together, and, like, at
Mhm.
that point, I wasn't even in like, I was in middle school, and you needed somebody to go take the SATs with you, and I'm pretty sure, like, at 12 years old, I got, like, a 900 or something, like, total, and so, uh, you were taking them, I think, to get into
Yeah,
IMSA at
yeah,
that
it's part of the
point?
application. So I was,
Yeah,
like, in
and
7th grade or something. Yeah.
you did really well. I wanna say you got, like, well into the double digits, and you were just like, "Oh, man, like, I think maybe you could get into a state school or something," at, like, 12 years old, which you weren't being mean, you were just being brutally honest or so, but it was just, like, you were always setting the bar a little bit higher for me, and so, like, you went to med school at a really young age, and so I graduated high school 2 years early, I believe. I graduated at 17, and then I was in, graduated culinary school when I was, I wanna say, like, 19 or 20, and it
Yeah,
was
you were
just
young.
because yeah, I feel like I was always I don't wanna call it a competition because we were so vastly different, and I hate when women are pitted against themselves, and I don't want it to come off that way, but I feel like you were achieving, and it kind of pushed me to achieve too, if that makes sense.
No, that's so sweet. It means a lot. I agree. I do feel like our friendship was just, like, very real. It was maybe based in, like, hanging out at the track,
Yeah.
shopping at
Yeah.
Pumpkin Moon. I agree that it never felt competitive. It means a lot, but also it is funny because I feel like the spin zone of it when you're like, I don't want to put this on you, but are you saying that maybe the disease that I'm describing originated with me? It was
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
contagious.
yeah.
You caught it as a young child, which, oh my gosh,
And
we
I remember there is this one year when you wanted to do the Presidential Fitness Award, and I
oh my
forget what it
gosh, for Sea
was, but
Cadets. It was for Sea
yeah,
Cadets, I think, to
yeah,
have to do
and
it.
so,
We had to do
you needed
pull-ups.
to run a mile in a certain time, so it was just like, I was with you, like, almost every single day, and we were running the mile together, and it's just like, my oh god, this sounds awful, but, like, my natural form is, like, sitting on the couch, you know? It's just like, if somebody isn't there motivating me, like, I do not work out. And so, like, we were there together, and I was just, like, exercising every single day, running to Concordia and
Mhm.
back every single day throughout the whole entire summer, and so, I feel like you were good for me, for my childhood, maybe.
That is so funny. Well, yeah, it was great to be friends with you because obviously as an only child, it was amazing. I probably wouldn't have gotten socialized at all if not for you. So whatever amount people think this girl spent too much time alone as a kid and she's not well socialized, like please know it'd be much worse if not for Becky. Because we were at the zoo, we were at the track, we were running the stairs. The presidential fitness test, that takes me back.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to share. It's so funny because you guys know, and you may be thinking back to your own childhood, but like my parents, they loved Becky. Always, their favorite thing about Becky, though, was that don't know what year this was, maybe middle school. You got sent to etiquette school. Yes, etiquette, yeah, probably takes you right back because I don't even to this day, I have no idea what it entails, but somehow probably your parents mentioned it to my parents or, I mean, like it came up somehow organically for years. If there was even a hint of me acting up or not acting right, my parents were so quick to be like, we will send you to etiquette school. Like Becky went, she's a very nice girl. She's demure. Like you are going to get your ass sent to etiquette school. We'll get the name from her family.
That is so funny. So etiquette school was definitely a punishment that my like, it wasn't like, we're trying to, like, shape,
Yeah, make you like proper young women.
yeah, no, it was just like, maybe I left a spoon on the counter or something, and my parents were just like, "Nope, you're going to etiquette school." I will say now, working in a fine dining restaurant, that has actually helped me a lot.
That's
During
true.
etiquette school, learned, all the proper spoon and fork placement and all the
Hmm.
names for it, like, the demi-tasse spoon, a salad fork, an oyster fork, and so now, working in fine dining, it's actually helped a lot. Wouldn't say that back then when I was 10. I learned how to curtsy, how to properly introduce somebody.
That is fancy. Maybe my parents should have sent me.
Yeah. I knew the correct placement for a dessert fork through etiquette school.
That's amazing. Oh, childhood. Oh, the 90s and the early 2000s. What a strange time. I definitely want to touch upon the bear just because, in today's TV and film landscape, like people are always abuzz about the pit. And of course, back in the day, Grey's Anatomy, The Resident, you guys have the bear, but I do feel like when I was in residency especially, like, primarily in the residency years, because I had a pretty good time in medical school, but, like, during residency, we were texting a lot, the workplace vibes were off. They were often overtly toxic, right? And I'd love to hear from your perspective, like, how you think kind of the kitchen and the OR compare from the years of experiences we've shared.
I can't tell you how many times that I've sobbed in the walk-in just because a chef just completely lost his shit, threw plates, fired somebody on the spot, screamed, and I don't know why I stuck around. I really don't. I don't know why I put up with the abuse. There is definitely abuse, but I did. And there were definitely days where I was called useless. The chef insult that hurts the most is, being called a shoemaker. It's just like the food that you're making is inedible like a shoe. And so it was just like,
No!
yeah, so, it was just like, "Why did you even bother coming to work, you fucking shoemaker? Like, get the fuck out of my kitchen." And, you'd go and cry in the walk-in, pick yourself up, and you, like, go straight back to work, and it was awful. It was really awful, and especially when, uh, you're putting in those long hours, like those
Yeah.
12-hour days, and you're just trying to do your best, especially as a young cook, I didn't have maybe the skills to back it up, and I was trying my best, and I would just get yelled at all the time. And it would be, like, a tiny mistake, like, I took the caramel from, like, a nice amber to a little something more burnt, and it was just like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? You're wasting ingredients. Why do I even pay you? Why are you even here? Get the fuck out of my kitchen." And so there is the bear, unfortunately, is based in reality. I wouldn't say it's overly dramatized. I don't go around calling all of my coworkers cousin or chef or
Yeah.
anything like that, but the abuse is definitely real, unfortunately.
And I hate it. Like, I hate that that is the case culturally in your workplace. I hate that you went through it all those years. It weirdly, like, I do feel like it brought us even closer though, like, because we have always been in different industries, but frankly, like, even some of the rhetoric, some of the teaching approach, we'll call it a teaching style. I'm gonna
Yeah,
put air quotes
it's
on that because it's
teaching, yeah.
loosely, yeah, the teaching style really, like, had such great similarities that I was surprised as we started going through it. I was like, "Oh, weird. Becky's just, like, in her residency." That's just what it felt like.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been times where I was crying so hard that I was, like, puking behind a dumpster, and I cleaned myself up and just, like, wiped the tears away. Hopefully, nobody noticed that I was crying. Of course, like, my face was, like, bright red. Everybody
Yeah, like
knew.
splotchy. I mean, you gotta get splotchy from that.
Yeah, I would just go back in there and keep my head down and just pretend like nothing happened.
Did you have many coworkers at any of these points, like, where they would then reach out at least after? Not, like, stand up for you live or anything, because like, that is hard to do. Most hospitals don't have that. I assume most kitchens don't have someone who's, right, like, telling chef, like, "Be quiet, chef, and be nicer. Otherwise, there will be consequences for that." But, like, do people even come up to you privately after and say, "Hey, that."
No, I definitely feel like during that time I was the intern, the underdog, and it
Mhm,
was almost like they would kick me when I was down too, sort of thing. Like, again, come back into the kitchen, like clearly I'd been
mhm.
crying. They were just like, well, maybe you should have set a better timer and not burn the cookies, You like, you piece of shit.
Oh my gosh. I mean, okay, so how long does that era last for?
Uh, for me, it was about 4 years or so. I maybe became a pastry chef a little bit on the early side. I was offered a position as a pastry I went immediately from pastry cook to
Mhm,
pastry chef with
mhm.
nothing in between. And maybe I was not ready for that position, but I took it
What's in
anyway.
between? Like, what are
Oh,
examples of possible
being
in-betweens?
a pastry sous chef is the in between. Usually it goes from like intern, pastry cook, pastry sous, and then working as a
Mm.
pastry chef, especially at those high-end Michelin star restaurants. I was working as a head baker at this tiny bakery, and simultaneously I was working as a pastry cook at this Michelin star restaurant. So I would wake up at, 4 o'clock in the morning, get to my head baker job at 5, 6 a.m., do a full shift there, get out at maybe like 2 or 3, walk down the block to this Michelin star restaurant, and then clock in as a pastry cook. And I would be doing prep and plated desserts. And it was just rinse, wash, and repeat, do it again. And so from those two positions, I was offered a pastry chef position that maybe I was a little unqualified for, but I took it anyway. And oh God, I was so paranoid about being unqualified or a little unprepared that I worked like something like 400 days in a row without a day off. Admittedly, like some of those days weren't 10-hour days. Some of those days I came in for like 2 or 3 hours just to make sure everything was okay. But I was so scared about fucking up that I was, yeah, over an entire year without a day off, which I don't recommend to anybody. That's insane. That's an insane thing to do, but that was my path.
Yes, I do feel like, of course, like, you've achieved a lot. We're not that old, so you have definitely squeezed, like, more professional experience into fewer years by doing things like your crazy 400-day, gambit. And
Yeah.
I know that, like, I love the saying, "You can have it all, just not all at once." Because again, that's amazing, and I think that certainly professionally, you reap the rewards of that, but it is like, it always comes at the expense of something if we are going to work 400 days in a row.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't take a vacation. I had some sort of a social life, but it just involved drinking after work.
Yep, drinking the
Um
Coke. I do know
and
that
so
song.
yeah. Yeah. Um And I don't know, just speaking of abuse, I feel like I'm right now I have a team of pastry cooks, and they're all these young women who are about 10 years younger than me, and I feel like I am just like a wall holding up all of the abuse that I suffered a little bit, and really try to do oh god, as frustrated as I get, I really try to do gentle parenting with
Mhm,
them, just because I suffered so much when I was younger. So my day kind of looks like I come in the morning, I do prep, I work lunch service, as in I plate all of the desserts for lunch service. And then I do a little bit more prep and work dinner service too. And I have pastry cooks helping me out at both restaurants during all of that time. And so I'm working side by side with them. It's not like there's my work and their work, it's all of our work. I set the standard though, like I set the recipes, I set the
Hmm.
standards, and they need to follow along. And there's this one service just on Friday where I have an ice cream sundae on the menu, really easy. But my pastry cook didn't make it's a meringue, it's like marshmallow fluff, right? And
Uh-huh.
so when she piped it out, it just kind of splooshed everywhere and it wasn't right. And she tried to send it out like that. And instead of my instincts were to be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like I'm standing next to you and that's what you're gonna serve. But what actually came out of my mouth was, oh man, that doesn't look right, does it? Maybe we should redo that one. I think we can fix that real quick and it wouldn't take any time whatsoever. And again, I just feel like I'm holding back that wall of abuse that, like, if my chef saw that, if I put that up and my chef saw that, at 19-year-old Becky, my chef would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you, you piece of shit? Get the fuck out of my kitchen, you shoemaker, you know? And I really do feel like a barrier for my pastry cooks at this point.
Which is amazing. Like they're lucky to have someone who will break the cycle. But I do also think that a huge component of it, because I used to feel that way. Like when I was the chief resident and stuff like that. And yeah, exactly. You'd see somebody make an error. My first thoughts that crossed my mind are remembering when I made this error and somebody really belittled or screamed at me, right? That's the first thing that would cross my mind. And I would actively choose a different response, which exactly is like, that doesn't look right. Let's look at that order. And I remember when I used to have trouble with that order, sliding scale insulin, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that I hope that with tincture of time, that you feel like you can really integrate and move past all the abuse that you suffered. Because I do think that and I'm just speaking for surgeons, really, since that's like what I know, what I look at. There are basically people who come out of training and they just squash it down. And that's what they do. And I get it, but they're like, I'm not going to address this. I will squash it down, hopefully so deep and dark that like no one ever finds this and hopefully it doesn't erupt, but often it does tend to erupt then at work versus like, you know, I know how much time I spent trying to sort out in therapy and things like that. I basically just didn't even want to carry it with me. And I finally feel like I've gotten to a point in my life where I don't carry it with me. Like it isn't my first thought anymore when somebody messes up.
Yeah, and I know there aren't as high stakes for my line of work as it is for yours. I mean, I'm making food after all, whereas there's lives on the line for your line of work, But at the end of the day, like, what does yelling do? It's just like all it does is like raise the cortisol and you like get stressed
For
out.
everyone,
For
exactly, and I think
everyone, yeah.
increase future errors, by the way, I do and there's evidence that supports that in the literature, that it increases future errors. So, here's what I think, and chefs can agree with me or not. I really do think that what yelling does is yelling makes the person who is yelling feel powerful and like an overlord, and it feeds their ego. Like, that's the main thing it does, because exactly to your point, like, the stakes when there's a culture of excellence and a high bar for excellence, like, yes, the stakes feel very high across board. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. And so I just think that w- I always felt like yelling did not do anything because either the patient was really in danger. Well, then for sure you shouldn't be yelling at someone who works on your team. You should be saving a life, right? Like securing an airway. Or this isn't a life-threatening situation, in which case it's okay to just kind of calmly explain it. Like the yelling piece of it does feel like it comes from ego. And so when the professional, whether they're a chef or a surgeon, has their ego right, and they're not coming at this from this strict vertical hierarchy of like, I'm better than you, I am going to lord this over you, and I do get to beat you up if I want to. I feel like when we let go of that, that's like what transforms a workplace culture.
I agree. Pastry is a little bit weird. I always call it kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the kitchen.
Mhm.
I really kind of see pastry as its own department, and then there's the
Mhm.
savory side, which is a little bit bigger and a little bit more of a monster. I would watch these, like, my coworkers even when we would be on the same level, and I could almost see, like, their tensions rise a little bit throughout the day. And then one like, the straw that broke the camel's back, one minor thing would happen, and then they would just explode, and I could almost see it building through,
Yeah.
the 12-hour shift. It's just like the right rice didn't come in with the order, we don't have any rice for, like, risotto, like, a dishwasher called out, one table that was supposed to be a 4 top, 10 more people came, and now it's a 14 top, and it's just like all of these tensions
Mhm.
build and build and build, and then you have that one cook that sends out a steak that's supposed to be medium, and they send it out rare, and then all of a sudden the chef just explodes, and it's just like there's so many moments throughout the day they could have just released that tension or released that kind of buildup, I guess, but it's almost they're, like, holding on to the anger throughout the whole entire day.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree because it is our choice, ultimately to hold on to and hoard up and like store up and then freak out over anger. Or we can be like, oh, I'll actively like let things go. I think that the importance of emotional regulation is
Yes,
very
yes,
similar for the
yes.
leader. Like, I mean, I think that about leaders of literally all teams. Doesn't matter if you work in an office, let alone in a kitchen, in a hospital. Like, I actually think like the leader having emotional regulation skills or not. My question for you would be, is there any training, that type of
Oh,
stuff,
there
leadership
should be.
training?
I have done my own work. I go to therapy myself and I do my own work and I try
Mhm,
to do that emotional regulation and I try to uh let off steam and just
mhm,
let things go and not let things build up. I wish there was. I wish there was a better I mean, as a whole, I think the kind of pirate mentality culture for the kitchen is really
mhm.
toxic and it's very like toxic masculinity. I'll even see line cooks brag to each other about how awful their day was, which I don't get,
Yeah.
and it's just like, "Oh, man, we did 150 color covers, we got our asses kicked." And it's like, "Oh, yeah? We did 180 minus a person. Somebody called out." And it's just like, "Guys."
I do think that this is the time, like, now in 2026, I just think that, like, a lot of people are questioning these systems and, like, breaking the cycles because same thing, like, in medicine, it's bragging, "Here's how little sleep I got." That is not a brag. Even when people back then used to say that to me, I'd kind of look at them sideways and be like, "I don't know, that doesn't sound good. I love sleep more than anything in the world."
Yeah.
So,
I suppose at the end of the day, I can only control what I can control, and I will say that, like, my little, like, redheaded stepchild pastry department, it's a very nurturing environment, and we're not like that.
I'm obsessed. I think that that's amazing, and hopefully, you just continue to grow because I do think that when people display that leadership style and competency, then, like, hopefully they are given more and more to lead over, you know?
Yeah.
I almost said, like, to lord over, but, not like that, but, positively
Yeah. Yeah,
to
yeah.
parent gently. Because I think that what's so interesting about both of our experiences in work is that there is this weird, like, it's a dysfunctional family at work. Like, it's very easy for it to feel that way, and so when, like, your attending is yelling at you, it's sometimes I mean, it feels as threatening as, like, your parent is yelling at you, and I assume it's the same.
It really is, yeah. When I was younger, my dad was maybe not the most calm person in the world. And so when I was working as a young adult in these kitchens and my chefs were yelling at me, I was instantly brought back to like I was 4 years old and my dad was screaming at me. And it was just like whatever I did, I couldn't separate the two. And it's just like, I think that's why I was crying so much, honestly. It was just like, if maybe I had, like, a calmer childhood growing up, I wouldn't have been sobbing so much in the walk-ins, but it was just like, it was instantly brought back.
Yes, yeah, they feel almost indistinguishable, like, I can relate to that, and what's further, though, Becky, like, because, and I don't know the chef literature, but I know that, like, in healthcare, it does self-select. Like, people who choose to go into healthcare jobs have a higher rate of traumatic instances in their history prior to going into healthcare. Because I just think that what's interesting is, like, some of the people who I think of who have, like, really, really calm, gentle parenting dads, then they don't pick jobs altogether like our jobs that we picked, right? Like, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, then they don't work 14 hours a day, 6 days a week for a decade. I don't know what they're up to. I don't know. I mean, I feel like we're ships in the night. I know a couple people like that in passing. They seem fairly satisfied. And again, they're not like hurling themselves into this kind of work. So I do think that there's an interesting like selection that goes on there.
I don't even know if I well, like, what I would be doing if I wasn't doing this. Like, I can't ever see myself, like, in an office job. It's just maybe I'm addicted to stress, possibly. We'll be talking to my therapist about that this week, but I love it. Yeah, I love the problems.
Yeah. No, I know. And I do feel like now in my 30s, I look at my job now and I say, you got to take the good with the bad. And I do say, and like, but in my 20s, I'd be like, I won't take the bad with the good. I won't do it. I'll sink the ship just to kill the captain. I really did have that strong vibe. And now I think it's like, take the good with the bad. And I'm so happy for you. I think it is a huge blessing to feel as good about one's job as you do. Like, I really, I know that there have been hard days but also hard entire years, but like I've never heard you question this line of work being like your sole mate in the professional sense.
I hesitate to call my work art. I may be more of a craftsman, but some of my plated desserts, hopefully you can see some art in there or like art inspiration in there. And so I usually use food as a medium a little bit. And so for me, yeah, I'll take the hard 14-hour days to do what I love. I feel like it's almost a price that I have to pay to get my work out there. Again, maybe you'll have to look at my plated desserts and make your own decision about if it's art or not, but I use food as a medium and I am a pastry chef because I want to do that work. And I feel like the price I have to pay for that is the grueling 14-hour days to do that.
Obviously, I'm biased. Becky's like, you can decide for yourself, but obviously I have to say, if you decide that you don't think it's artful, then we're going to have some words. Then we're
Oh,
going to have a street fight about it, because I certainly do think that it's very artful. And again, it's cool to see, because I can remember us being like 8 years old walking down Lake Street, and me after school saying, like, do you want to come over and we can make brownies? And you being like, oh, that sounds good. Like, what kind were you thinking? Like, what recipe were you thinking? And I was like, I have brownies from a box. And you've always been too nice to say, but I feel like even 8-year-old you was like, had huge eyes and was like, what the fuck? Like, and I was like, what? Is there something wrong with box? And I was lucky to know somebody who knew, even at that young age, like, what was artful and what wasn't.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's like, okay, well, thank you so much for being here today, Becky. Truly, it's like always really fun to, of course, have a friend in the studio.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I mean, we've been saying this for years about like our weird crossover in medicine and restaurants,
Hmm.
and hopefully other people can kind of, I guess, abuse is the same no matter what institution. So
Exactly. No, I think that the bear helped like uncover it though, because a lot of people in healthcare who I know, they saw the bear and they were like, hey, that's like us. Who are these guys? Like, should we connect? Should we reach out?
chefs, they're just like us.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, well, cannot wait to see you in New York and celebrate the book launch and everything.
Yeah, I got my book in the mail. I'm super excited. It's gorgeous. And congratulations. I don't know if you are proud of yourself, truly, but you should be. I've talked you up all the time. I was even talking you up yesterday. I think what you're doing is incredible.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah,
Oh,
no, I need to try to do it because I'm already like on to the next thing. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Surgeon Interrupted. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a review.